everyone, and welcome back to the Ollie Mudkip channel. And today we've got the worst team of the tournament. We've done the team of the tournament, now it's time to do the worst team of the tournament, and let's just get right into it. First of all, I just want to say what I'm going off here, really, because it's not the same as the team of the tournament where I just say the best player in this position, because this one also, I've got two real rules here. It's really off what we were expecting them to really do, how far they got into the tournament compared to how they perform, really. And also, if I hadn't heard of their name before the tournament started, I'm not picking them, okay? Let's get into it. So, of course, we have to start with goalkeeper, of course. And if you haven't watched the team of the tournament video, how this works is I'm going to give 3 nominations. And I'll pick, out of the nominations, I'll pick one of them to go into the worst team of the tournament. So the 3 nominations for goalkeeper, for the worst goalkeeper, is Livakovic, Gunn, and Lunin. All of these keepers were not very good, and 2 of them really had some expectation on them, being Livakovic and Lunin. Gunn was just absolutely terrible, and no one was really expecting too much of him. And even with that little bit of expectation, he managed to still let them down, and was just genuinely one of the worst keepers of the tournament. For the first goal he let in against Wirtz, it was just floppy wrists and really just set the tone for his entire participation in this tournament. Livakovic had a really nice World Cup performance, and coming out here, it was just a lot worse. And really, it can be said he had a little bit of a part in his nation not even getting past the group stage. And then there's Andre Lunin, who came off a phenomenal season with Real Madrid, winning the Champions League, but he came here and was terrible. And he started off this terrible campaign with a 3-0 loss to Romania, which is really what has put the nail in the coffin and put him in my worst team of the tournament. The first pick is Andre Lunin at goalkeeper. Next up, we have left back, and the 3 nominations I've gone with here is Gvardiol, Trippier, and Andrew Robertson. This is one of the toughest picks I've got, because all 3 of these players were really equally as bad. Mostly Andrew Robertson had a lot of expectation put on him, especially this whole Scottish team. They were looking to get into the round of 16 here. People were really expecting them to qualify, and then they've bottomed the group and were terrible. Andrew Robertson, the captain, had a big part to play in it, was absolutely non-existent in this tournament, and was really one to forget for him. There's Josko Gvardiol, who was genuinely so terrible for Croatia here, and had a big part in them getting knocked out here. Was terrible against Spain, got absolutely cooked and battered and bruised against Lamine Yamal, a 16-year-old, and really was just terrible. And then there's Kieran Trippier, who isn't a left back and was played out of position. He looked so far out of his depth and really shouldn't have been playing at left back, but for some reason they only called up one left back and he wasn't fully fit. Really should have looked to bring in another left back, and for this reason it's got to be Trippier. Trippier is my left back here. The centre back here, I'm going to do the same as the team of the tournament. I'm just going to give 5 nominations, and we'll pick 2 of them to be the centre backs. So the 5 nominations for centre back are Milenkovic, Tierney, Porteous, Kivior, and Hendry. You'll notice 3 Scottish players here, and you'll see that because the Scottish defence was truly woeful. And for that reason, all 3 of their centre-backs have made it into this nominations list. All of them were just awful. Tierney probably had the highlight of the tournament for Scotland. He won a goal kick. Hendry just terrible. Porteous sent off in his first game and just was woeful. Really cost his team by being out of that for the rest of the Germany game and being out for the 2 other games. Kivior for Poland had been pretty solid for Arsenal during the season. I was expecting more from him, and no, he was just absolutely terrible, like the rest of that Poland squad. Finally, there's Milenkovic for Serbia, who just wasn't good, really, just easily dealt with, really. I was expecting more from him. I quite rate Milenkovic as a defender, but he was really terrible here. In the end, the 2 centre-backs I'm going to go with here is Porteous for the really terrible performance he showed here, and Kivior for just also terrible performance. And right back, the 3 nominations I have for right back is Kyle Walker, Stanisic, and Di Lorenzo. First up, Kyle Walker was expecting so much more from Kyle Walker. He has been so good for England and for Man City in recent years, but just at this tournament was absolutely woeful. I was expecting so much better from him. Got to the final and still looked completely off it. Also, the Stanisic, who came off an unbeaten league season with Leverkusen, and he came here and for Croatia was wank. And finally, for Italy, there was Di Lorenzo, who was absolutely woeful. Completely just put aside against Nico Williams, and just for the rest of the tournament, just completely awful. Not what Italy needed at left back, and had a big part to play in them going out of this tournament, especially since he was one of the determining factors for why they conceded. Got completely easily dealt with by Nico Williams, who put the ball into the box, and then Calafiori. It came off Calafiori and went into the back of the net. Just terrible from Di Lorenzo, and that's why I've gone with him to be my right back pick for the worst team. So in the end, the back line is Lunin, Trippier, Kivior, Porteous and Di Lorenzo. Now moving on to the midfield. First off, we'll start with the more defensive centre mid, and the nominations there are Adrien Rabiot, Declan Rice and Jorginho. And now all of these players have a big claim to being the worst of their position at this tournament. Really, Jorginho, I was expecting a lot better of him. Was pretty decent for Arsenal this season, and it didn't translate here. Had a terrible group stage that led to him being completely dropped against Switzerland. Not even an appearance off the bench. Woeful. Adrien Rabiot, the highlight of Adrien Rabiot's entire tournament was telling Lamine Yamal that he needed to do better, and they're getting fucking dunked on in his face by Lamine Yamal. Had a terrible tournament and really shouldn't have played over Camavinga. Finally, there's Declan Rice, who everyone really thought there would be a lot better from him, but he was just terrible. Completely at fault for the goal against the Netherlands, and really didn't defend anything, was not holding the midfield at all. But in the end, I am going to go with Jorginho here for CDM. Last Euros, he was getting Ballon d'Or shouts for his contribution. This Euros, he was getting dropped in the round of 16 when Italy were going home. Woeful. Moving on to the slightly more attacking, more supporting, box-to-box kind of role midfielder. The three nominations is John McGinn, Nico Barella, and Milinkovic-Savic. Well, over the years, we've had a lot of hype from Milinkovic-Savic, but nothing really came of it. And now he's gone to Saudi. We've been thinking year after year, he's going to shine, he's going to get a big move, and it's just never happened. It's never materialized. And in this tournament for Serbia, he was completely non-existent and had a big part in Serbia just finishing bottom of their group. There's also John McGinn, who was terrible for his team, not what Scotland needed, and he was just terrible and failed really. Nico Barella as well, terrible for Italy. Would have expected a lot better of him because he was a lot better at the Euros prior and was good for club this season, but didn't translate into this campaign. But in the end, I am going to give it to Milinkovic-Savic, who's going to be my pick here for the more forward centre. Moving on into Cam, I've got three nominations here, like all the other ones. Obviously, I've got Jude Bellingham, I've got Szoboszlai, and I have Mateo Kovacic. Mateo Kovacic, I know, isn't really a cam, but he was playing a little bit more forward, and I'm going to put him in cam because I couldn't really think of any other cams to put here. He was not very good. I would have expected a lot better from Kovacic because I really do rate him. I really do think he is a good player, but he really wasn't good here for Croatia, and had as well, like all the others, had a big part in them not qualifying. Just didn't really produce anything. Jude Bellingham everyone was talking about ahead of this tournament. I really don't think he's that good, and he really wasn't good. He may have had 2 goals, okay, but it's really masked up what has been an awful tournament. Apart from those 2 goals, he has been doing nothing. He's been doing absolutely nothing in midfield. He may have assisted Cole Palmer, but did he really know anything about that? He was a problem in the dressing room as well for England, as it's kind of come out afterwards. He was causing unhappiness. No one really liked him. He was getting involved in everything. He was getting involved in everything but the game. Woeful. Szoboszlai really takes the cake for me here because he is Hungary's talisman, supposedly. He was good for Liverpool this season. He was supposed to take this Euros by storm and take this Hungary side that was unlucky with the draw at the last Euros through to the knockout stages, and it didn't materialise. Szoboszlai was completely invisible. absolutely terrible. And for me, that's why I put him here at the camera roll. It's got to be Dominik Szoboszlai for just how underwhelming he was compared to the expectation. So my midfield three is Jorginho, Serhej Milinkovic-Savic, and Dominik Szoboszlai. Moving on to the front three now, and let's start with the left wing. And so my left wing nominations is a Jose Perez, Jeremy Doku, and Kylian Mbappe. Jose Perez, let's get it out of here. Really only had one appearance. He had 7 minutes, and they really wasn't good. The 7 minutes, he had 2 clear-cut chances against Italy and squandered them both. 2 chances that really, really could have benefited Spain, because we needed to get the nail in that coffin against Italy, and he didn't give it to us. He had so many opportunities. He had 2 big opportunities to give it to us, and just didn't produce it. I don't know why he was called up. He was terrible. In the end, we got to get across the line, but still could have cost us severely. Then there's Jeremy Doku, who was just very underwhelming. He showed us some skill and got past some players, but in the end there was no final product and was just very good. It wasn't very good. He only was able to get past players who were over the age of 30. Then there's Kylian Mbappe, the big mention here. He just was so underwhelming. No goals or assists, nothing really produced. Had that mask, was awful. The highlight of this entire tournament for him was having that mask on. He was absolutely woeful and sent shot after shot after shot over, straight into the goalkeeper or wide. There was really nothing dangerous from Kylian Mbappe, and that is why I have put him in that left wing here for the worst team of the tournament. Moving out onto the right wing now, and we have Dusan Vlahovic, Ousmane Dembele, and Philip Foden. First up, I'm going to talk about Ousmane Dembele. I watched this man over and over again, and I watched this man just squander chances over and over and over again. He was woeful. I watched the game against Poland. He was just so terrible. Obviously, I watched his game against Spain. Just, he would get into the box and then he'd do nothing. He'd send it over. He'd give it to the wrong person. He'd play a pass to absolutely nobody straight to the defense. Was just genuinely terrible. Terrible. Then there's Dusan Vlahovic, who's really a striker, but was playing out on the wing to accommodate Mitrovic, who we'll get to in a second. And he was terrible down the wing and really offered nothing. There's a lot of potential in this kid, but here, absolutely awful. Then there's Phil Foden, who we were expecting so much from in this tournament. In the end, 007 in a major tournament as a right winger or as a winger is absolutely woeful. No assists or goal, and that's why he's got to go in at right wing for me. He was absolutely terrible. And finally, we have striker. My 3 nominations are Mitrovic, as I said earlier, Lukaku, and Cristiano Ronaldo. First up, let's talk about Lukaku. Lukaku had 3 disallowed goals for offside, and anything that was onside, he was terrible and unclinical. It was just the history of his of the last 5 years of his career really has been absolutely woeful. More like 3 years, sorry. Moving on to Alexander Mitrovic, who I spoke about before. Vlahovic moved out to the right-hand side to accommodate for him to be the sole striker, and he was terrible. The closest he's really got was hitting the thing next to the post that props up the goal. He was terrible. Absolutely terrible. Went to Saudi and has lost it all. And then finally, there's Cristiano Ronaldo, and there's no joke about this. He shouldn't have started. I said it before the tournament. Shouldn't have started in the slightest. He's completely past it. It completely got away from him here, and he is one of the biggest reasons as why Portugal didn't go through. He didn't have anything near what they could have. They had Jota and Gonçalo Ramos behind him, and he was starting. He was playing every minute. Missed penalty as well. Like, that could have cost Portugal very dearly here. In the end, he got off lightly. He cried more for missing a penalty than he did for getting knocked out, and that's why I've got to put Cristiano Ronaldo at striker here for the worst team of the tournament. In the end, my worst team of the tournament is at goalkeeper, Andre Lunin. At left back, it's Kieran Trippier. My centre backs are Kivior and Porteous. My right back is Di Lorenzo. My more defensive centre mid is Jorginho. My more forward centre mid is Milinkovic Savic. My cam is Dominic Szoboszlai. My left winger is Kylian Mbappe. My right winger is Phil Foden. And my striker is Cristiano Ronaldo. So thank you everyone. If you've gotten to this point, you're an absolute fucking legend. Thank you so much for getting to this point. If you're new, leave a sub and a like. If you're not new, then just leave a like. I've been Ollie Mudkip, and I'll see you next time. See ya.